So I'm doing a little fall video here. One of the things that I've been doing is I picked a few of my pepper plants over here. You can see them. I got a good little pile for overwintering. Now I have two that I'm saving from this summer. So this one is some kind of, I think it's like a Thai chili pepper, and this one here you can't really see much, but this is a jalapeno. So I picked a few random ones. I got some Marconis. I got some giant bell peppers that I'm going to try to overwinter. I got an ajichar pizza back there, which I really hope works. Yeah, just a few varieties. I think we got a Cubanelle. Oh, and that one there is a cayenne. But I've learned something. If you look at this Thai chili pepper, now I was a little disappointed, and I've been thinking about why it got so small. Is because um, I think at a genetic level, these plants, even in optimal conditions, only grow so big. Like, so even if you had the best conditions, the plant is only going to be so big. So when you overwinter a plant that's basically a dwarf, I know some of my Apaches were about a dwarf plant. They only grow about a foot tall. Like, that's it. So that's one of the things that probably impacts overwintering. Like, I'm not an expert. I'm learning. So I think that the hopes of overwintering is the plant gets bigger and you can produce way more. And that might be true with plants that have a genetic predisposition to be able to grow much bigger, right? Like the jalapeno, if you grew a jalapeno in optimal conditions, what's the biggest that plant is really going to get? And I think that's kind of the metabolism within that's going to kind of keep that thing to reasonable size, I guess. But some of the other plants, like the Marconis, they might actually be able to get much, much bigger than you could in 1 year. So I don't know this, but it's worth experimenting. And but what I've done for a couple of years is I've cut them back a bit, and I allow for a little bit of growth to start coming back out before I bring them in, because usually, like in the fall, you have some beautiful days like today. It's like, you know, you could go to the beach at this point, but getting a little bit of growth before they're actually going to get into a dormant stage may or may not be a good thing. I really don't know, because we're up here in 5A, 5B. So it's a little different than when you're down in like Florida or something, right? Because out there it's just like you probably don't even have to bring them in. But I got a few different varieties, and I hope they survive, because it'd be nice to see which ones, you know. But I don't have right now an optimal. I don't even have uh, a sun-facing window where I could put plants. That's one of the problems that I have, right? Because if you could get winter sun or winter sun, and through window, you could utilize it. But right now, I don't. I'm not too concerned. So that's what I'm going to do. But that's what I've learned so far. I think is that the genetic predisposition, for plant size, is going to impact how well things overwinter and come back the next year. Because I've seen some, I don't know what they were, like Nagas or something, Dorset Nagas. Those things are huge. It's like, well, how come mine's not growing that big? Well, I think that's the answer, anyways. And I'm thinking about how well this would work on a production scale. Like if you were to have thousands of plants that you could potentially overwinter, and then if you're doing like say something on a commercial scale for food, you know, is it viable at all to do overwintering? It sounds like it would work, but you don't know, because I don't think anyone's done it at that scale. Like the size of like a huge greenhouse. It's potentially valuable though, right? Because peppers take a long time, right? Especially if you're up in Canada, you got to start them in January, February if you want you know, a really good crop. So that's it. I got about 10 different kinds here, multiple plants in each one, some of them, because I do cram a bit. And let's see. So I got two here that survived. These both have survived 2 summers. So hopefully they will survive another winter and make it back into the spring. This Thai chili, it's a dwarf. Like, it's never going to get that big, right? So now I know anyways what to look for. I did have another one that didn't budge at all. Like, I cut her back in the fall. It survived all winter and it didn't even grow an inch. It's unbelievable. Like, it's just, I don't know what went wrong with it. But the jalapeno grew. It produced pretty decent. And I was knocking some of the flowers off initially early in the spring. Maybe next year I won't do that. I'll just let them go, because I wanted to get more, more growth, right? Because your vegetative growth will slow down a lot once you start flowering. Maybe next year I'll just let them go and let them do their thing. See what happens. Well, that's my overwintering video for the fall. Have a good one.